We're here in urban Greenford, as you can see, at Costons Lane Community Nature Reserve, and we have been very busy behind the scenes turning this derelict allotment site into a community nature reserve that residents here can enjoy and engage with nature and biodiversity. The front of the plot we're making a community garden, and the back is a nature reserve proper, and we're hoping to open up to the public this spring. This front part of the site is the narrow part, and we're giving it a nod to its former use as allotments. We're creating a community garden here to show people how they can bring in wildlife and nature into their own gardens. We're going to be growing, we're going to be having a plant sale here every year to give people wildlife friendly planting, and we're going to have pond dipping stations for kids, and this hub space here is our HQ now. Basically, we've got a container building, and we have had an artist paint it with some of the iconic Ealing wildlife species, and of course our community, human community as well. And this is where we store all of our equipment, and we're going to have decking here in front so we can host events here and welcome people in from Greenford community. We're keen to put in lots of features and habitats for various species of wildlife, including solitary bees. One of our members donated this amazing solitary bee observation hive to us, where we can watch the solitary bees making their nests and raising their young in these little cells. They'll fill them with food like nectar and leaves and things depending on species, and we can take it off and we can observe actually all of the action going on. Really, really engaging for kids and adults alike. There's been quite a lot of timber on site and also a lot of cuttings from some of the cleared areas that we've had. So what we've created here along the woodland area is a dead hedge. It acts as really, really good habitat as it rots down for things like amphibians and small mammals, insects and other things that rely on dead rotting wood too. So it's quite an attractive feature, but it's also beneficial for wildlife. I can't wait to get like lovely foxgloves and ferns and all sorts of things growing in that. Our volunteers uncovered this amazing old greenhouse frame which was covered in brambles, and we didn't know it was here, so we decided, as a nod to its former use as allotments, to make it into our bird feeding station. We're going to also erect a screen hide that will look back on this feeding station and also out to our wildlife pond and wetland area. Having like coming down along here and then going up here, so that when you're in this section of the bird hide you can look at that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I got like two viewing sides, so this side for there and that side for the pond. Yeah. And then
how did you first get involved in Ealing Wildlife Group?
Oh my goodness. Well, that goes back a little while now. I think it was when there was first an indication that there were bats in Ealing, and Sean put a message on an Ealing Facebook group suggesting that he might lead a trip down to the viaduct to see where the bats were roosting. I thought, ooh, this is something I'd be definitely interested in doing. And then from that, when he set up the Ealing Wildlife Group Facebook page, I was there. I was in it right from the start, and what was amazing right from the very beginning was that people were posting pictures and information about different parts of Ealing that had some amazing wildlife, and it really sort of galvanised my interest, and I realised there was so much that I could learn, and bits of Ealing that I didn't know, and little sort of nooks and crannies, and even within the parks there was stuff that I just had no idea about. So that was really what galvanised me into being interested. And then when we started doing some volunteer days, it was then meeting people and meeting amazing people with amazing knowledge, whether it was about invertebrates or birds or trees or amazing, and it just made me want to know more. And I realised I didn't know very much, but I was very interested, but there were loads of people around me that knew a massive amount and were really keen to share, and that was what's been so fantastic about this. So as I go along, I don't feel I'm bringing the knowledge, but I do feel I go away with a huge amount of information, and I know much more than I did when I started.
So what have been your favorite parts, your highlight reel?
Oh my goodness, again, there's quite a few bits to choose from over the years. So I particularly love the work that we did in Bowles Meadow, and that was all part of really getting a area better fit for purpose, and it was particularly again focused on bats. But we spent some afternoons clearing all the balsam out of that area, really satisfying, and now there's hardly any there, and so it's absolutely fantastic to know that we had that impact, so that's great. And I think that then has triggered a lot of interest in that habitat conservation and preservation and creation, and that's why today at Costons, for instance, the work we've been doing here sort of builds on that. It's a bigger area, it's got a lot more to do, there's areas to clear, there's areas to create, and we're using the resources that we found on site, clearing the rubbish away, but really enabling wildlife areas to develop. So it's that habitat conservation and creation, I think, that's the bit that is a real highlight for me, and the impact we can have as a group in order for that to happen.
This area here is pretty special because last year we were here and we saw a tiny little face pop out of the hedge here, and it was a tiny fox cub just out of the den. So we placed a trail camera here. The whole area of vegetation was flattened, so we knew there was a lot of fox action, and we were stunned to see that 9 fox cubs came out of their den just in this thicket here. 9 fox cubs is very, very unusual, and we noticed that 4 of them were a slightly different size to the others. And also we noticed there was 2 very distinctly different females. So what we think happened is that a mum and her youngster from last year both had their cubs together in the same den. Quite unusual. All around the reserve you'll notice a lot of nest boxes that we've put up in trees and on fences for attracting a range of different wildlife species. We have bird boxes catered for, starlings, blue tits, great tits, robins and things like that. And we also have quite a few bat boxes that they'll roost in at different times of the year. Spaces like this are just so important, especially in urban areas, for wildlife and biodiversity to thrive. They're also very good for us and our mental well-being. So if you want to come down and visit, or you want to get involved volunteering and helping it to take shape, then do sign up to our newsletter and volunteer list on our website at ealingwildlifegroup.com.